Alright, how's everybody doing? My name is Tyler Dornenberg and I'm a co-founder of LeapCure. LeapCure is a company whose main goal is to shorten the clinical trial process by facilitating faster patient recruitment as well as a better patient experience. So, what does that mean and what's the problem? So for all of you that aren't familiar with the drug development process, it takes about 10 years and $1.5 billion to take a drug from an idea to R&D all the way to market. Now about 3 years of that time, or 30% of that time, is spent specifically on patient recruitment. So for those of you guys that are doing the math in the audience, that's $450 million that's spent purely recruiting patients. Now here's the kicker. 86% of these studies don't meet their timelines. So that means that $500 million is spent by every one of these pharmaceutical companies in every single study, and they don't even hit their project goals. So, for all the people in the audience right now who are thinking, that sounds like a waste of money, you're right. It's not just the pharmaceutical companies who are feeling the burden on this, it's also consumers like you and me who are seeing drug premiums go through the roof on a year-over-year basis. So, let me just let that sink in for a second and I'm going to introduce our team. There are 5 of us. We met at a biotechnology company in Southern California. We were doing something very similar at that company where we were helping to bring clinical trials to people's front doorsteps. Now what we realized, even though we were taking a highly complex system and bringing it to people's homes, we still had a lot of trouble recruiting and engaging patients. So that's why we invented LeapCure. Now what LeapCure does is LeapCure simplifies a lot of the really complex problems with recruiting patients. The first piece is that clinical recruitment organizations, otherwise known as CROs, are still listing studies in newspapers and magazines and sending home mailers, whereas what we do to recruit patients is we're actually partnering with nonprofit organizations, patient engagement organizations, and going on social media, going to online support groups. And part 2 is that once patients actually make it through that traditional process, they go to call centers. Now in a call center, you have 30 to 50 people who are sitting on a telephone and listening to people and screening them, when in reality what we did is we just created an intelligent questionnaire that is machine learning on the back end and actually helps facilitate faster screening for all patients who are going through the process. So, what does that mean? That means higher patient conversion rates, lower cost per conversion for patients to actually get involved in studies actually hitting their timelines. It means doctors having less risk when they go into a research process, and it means for you and me and patients everywhere that we get cheaper drugs and we get them faster. And LeapCure is the first step to that. Thank you very much.